Om Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvabhignopashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir me sada Yenakshara samamnyayam Adhigamya maheshwarat Kritsnam vyakarnam proktam Tasmai Parninaye Namaha Vakyakaram Vararuchim Bhashyakaram Patanjalim Paninim Paninim sorry Yenaksharasamamnayam adhigamya maheshwarat kritsnam vyakarnam proktam tasmai paninaye namaha vakyakaram vararuchim bhashyakaram patanjalim paninim sutrakarancha pranatosmi Munitrayam Vagarthaviva Sampriktau Vagarthah Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitaro Vande Parvati Parameshwarau Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Om Namaste, everyone. Welcome. It's nice to see shining faces. So today I just wanted to spend today to finish where we are in Sandhi, which is very exciting, and also do a little bit of review. This review will probably not get finished today, and that's okay. We don't want to rush the review as well. And then we want to be strong in Sandhi before we go to consonant Sandhi, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just shift to the iPad here, and we're going to look at this chart. You can open up your book, the Sandhi book, to the beginning of Sandhi. You can look at that chart. So if you're looking at the chart, right, where we are right now, we're going to look at first of purvarupa-sandhiḥ. Right, so purvarupa-sandhiḥ, where we are in this chart, is this little small box at the bottom left. You see that small indent box with star 1? That's what we're going to be looking at. Okay, so basically we've covered everything else except for this small little box. So we're going to finish that today. So you can actually just go to purvarupa-sandhiḥ. That's the 7th Sandhi. And it should look like this. It's not showing up, huh? Let me try that again. Okay, there we go. Yeah, purvarupa-sandhiḥ. So we know the word purva and we know the word para. We've seen these words before, right? Purva means that which is preceding, that which precedes, that which is previous. And para is that which follows. Now, when we are looking at purvarupa-sandhiḥ, right? Rupa means form and purva means the previous form. So when I have two sounds, I have a purva and a para, when they become one sound of the purva, it's called purvarupa. Okay, basically what's happening is A plus B equals A. Okay, A plus B equals A. We're just taking the previous sound. So now specifically, this happens when you have ang. Ang means A or O. When I have ang, A or O, and that ang has to be at the end of a pada. Pada means, right, word. Word can be tingantam padam or subhantam padam. So a noun or a verb. And that A or O at the end of a pada is followed by a short akara. Okay, it needs to be short. When this happens, it's purvarupa. So we always are going to get an A or an O. Okay, right? We're taking the purvarupa, the sound of the purva. So even though they both get replaced by just this one. Another way I like to look at this is the first one eats the second one, and that's the end of it. Yeah? It's tired of being at the end of a pada, so it eats the next letter also. Okay. So here's an example, right? So here's what it looks like. Yeah, so this is the same thing really here, AO next to A, and either AO is going to replace both of them. So here's some examples. We have kale plus api. It becomes kalepi. Now, when that akara, which was following, and it's no longer there, it could be written as this S looking. It's called an avagraha. So notice that akara is missing. To note that there used to be an akara, sometimes we write that avagraha. Avagraha is not a letter. Sometimes it's a notation that was added more recently to note that there used to be an akara there. So you can break the sandhi a little bit easier. Right, here the second example too. So plus aham becomes soham. That O eats the akara. O eats the akara, and then we are then that's gone. It's just O. So does it mean when there's an avagraha, there is always an A or an O? A lot of times. I'm afraid to say always. You can never say always in Sanskrit, but a lot of times. The more important thing, right, with the avagraha is you can tell there is going to be an A and there's going to be an O. You don't need that to be told to you, right? That avagraha just means that there was an akara, right? That previous letter is still there for us to know. So even if it's something else, that doesn't bother us. Now, hopefully, you might be a bit confused. And I was a bit confused when I first looked at this, because previous we've seen that when A or O meets akara, then I get ayavayava sandhi. Right? When I have A and A, then I'm going to get ai. And I have O and A, then I get of. So what's the deal with this? Right? What about ayavayava sandhi? So this is ayavayava sandhi. A and ach is ai, right? So for example, we have hare plus aha, we get harayaha. So how come purvarupa-sandhiḥ doesn't apply? You can tell me in the chat. How come ayavayava is applied to this and not purvarupa-sandhiḥ? Short akara. This is a short akara. We're fine with that. Okay. It actually has nothing to do with the visarga. This is what I want to show you guys. So notice how A or O has to be at the end of a pada. Here in this example, the A is actually not at the end of the pada, right? We're making 1-3 of Hari Shabda. The ending of the pada is this akara, right? So I don't have an A or O at the end of a pada. So that's why ayavayava sandhi applies here and not purvarupa-sandhiḥ. So let me say that again. Okay. In order for purvarupa-sandhiḥ, I need AO to be at the end of a pada. Meaning it should be at the end of the word. And in this, akara is the end of the word. It's the suffix that is being added. And A is in the middle of the word. So it's not at the end of the pada. Akara, aha, is the 1-3, the sup pratyayaha, the suffix added to to make a nominal word, to make a noun. So that is why this rule does not apply, and I have ayava for this example. Okay. Now, if you look at this example, this is also, we've seen this elsewhere before too. We've seen this in visarga sandhi. Right, we've seen this in visarga sandhi. Shivaha plus aham becomes shivoham. So we've actually seen this. And yet, visarga sandhi, what really only happens in visarga sandhi is the visarga becomes O. But because we didn't know this rule, we automatically applied this rule there. So in visarga sandhi, when we saw shivaha plus aham, really what only happens in visarga sandhi is it becomes shivo plus aham. But now that we know this rule, then purvarupa-sandhiḥ takes place and it becomes shivoham. Okay. So there's a question about avagraha. Avagraha is when an akara, a short a, is elided, is erased, is removed, is gone somehow, then that erased, removed akara can be written as avagraha. Just to note that it used to be there. So it's like a placeholder, just to know that there used to be there. So if you break the sandhi, then you know it's kale plus api. Kale plus api. So there's a question about kale, kala plus aya. Well, kale is just, right? It's kala shabda, just like Rama shabda, 7-1. Okay. Yeah, so I'll take the question about avagraha first. So question about avagraha, when do we use it versus not use it? So traditionally it's, well, so nowadays we use it, right? This always wasn't there, but nowadays we use it because it's useful to know when you read this that there's really two words here, kale plus api. So oftentimes we use it for ease, but you don't need to use it, right? So there's really, we just do it as a, this is now we do this for convenience sake, so that when we break the sandhi and we know that there's two words, we know that there's akara there, but we don't need to do it. So it's up to you. So sometimes you'll see it in prayer books, for example, sometimes you won't. Oh, thank you for the correction, Urmilaji. Yeah. So there's actually no purvarupa-sandhiḥ in shivoham. So that was a bad example. Well, so there actually is. There actually is. Let me clarify that. So if I write shivoham, right? So, right, it's shivaha plus aham. The first thing that happens is actually visarga sandhi. So it becomes shivo plus aham. And then this purvarupa takes place and it becomes shivoham. And that's an avagraha in the middle. Sorry, my handwriting. It's a bit tough here. Has my camera been off for a long time? Thank you. Hariprasadji, yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry, one more time.
Yes, sir. When we are chanting soham, for example, do we have to leave half a matra, soham, when we're chanting?
No, we don't.
We don't. So we just say soham.
We just say soham. Yep.
Okay.
And that's why really the sandhi is often applied to make chanting easier.
Okay.
So it's a natural way that when we put these sounds together, it flows a little bit easier.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Okay. And Mukulji, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. You have to click that.
Yeah, the question I have is, sorry, am I volume?
It's okay. Yep, got it.
The question I have is for hare and kare. Excuse me, let me get my voice.
Yeah, it's okay.
Question I have is, sir, one camera completely. Hare and kare. Can you move this? Sorry, we are both in the same room and it's echoing.
That's okay. Yeah, it's going back a bit.
I shut off my generally, but hare and kare, aren't they also forms like Rama, like Kale?
It is hare. So
Hare becomes Haraya and Kare becomes Karaya.
Kara. What's the word you're saying? Kala.
Kale, you said, is a whatever, like Rama, Rame, Kale. But what Kare becomes Karayati. So Hare becomes Harayati.
So that's a totally different thing. Harayati and Karayati. Okay. That's a different suffix that comes. So here, are you talking about the difference between this and this?
Yeah.
So here, kale is this is a full noun. Kala plus 7-1 suffix.
Okay.
Here, this is just the pratipadika, hari, then it becomes hare, and then this is the suffix. So this isn't a fully formed noun yet.
Oh, okay.
These are two different words that are getting added here, and this is the pratipadika plus the suffix getting added.
Okay.
So this is like a half, it's not, this is the final form, and these are actually two different words that are getting added here.
Same thing is with are.
Are by itself is actually, are is a, it's indeclinable. So are is just a word by itself. There's no suffix or anything like that.
How about are?
Hare,
Are. Oh,
like
are.
hari.
Like hurry?
How are you spelling H-A-R-E?
No, A-A-R-E.
A-A-R-E.
A.
So let me write it here, right?
Are.
Ta, ta, da, da.
No.
Kare. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, kare. So kare, there's a different suffix that's added to kr dhatu. So this is kind of outside of our.
Oh, okay.
This is kr dhatu, then it becomes a noun, and then a noun becomes, yeah. So it's a little bit further than where we are right now.
Okay, thanks.
And then when we make karayati, that's even another suffix that's added to make that form. So that's a little bit out of where we are.
All right, thank you.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear you very well.
Echo is still going, so.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a question about pratipadika versus dhatu. So pratipadika is the nominal base. So when I have a noun, I'm making a noun plus a noun suffix. That's pratipadika. Dhatu is the root for a verb. So root for a noun is called pratipadika. Root for a verb is called dhatu. So that's the difference. Okay, so just applying some purvarupa-sandhiḥ. So we're gonna have to go a little bit faster just so we can do some review. Loke plus asmin. A, right? We have A or O preceding a, and this A or O is at the end of a pada. Therefore, A is going to, there's gonna be purva rupa. So it's gonna be lokesmin. Lokesmin duvida nishtha, right? Second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Arabhate plus Arjuna becomes Arabhaterjuna. And you can write the avagraha or not write the avagraha to show where akara was. Kale plus api, kalepi. Right, what we've seen before. Let's look at number 9. Loko plus asti, lokosti. 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 Sarvato plus asti, sarvatosti. Sarvatosti. Okay, I hope we're getting the example. You can see some, and then removing. This is why the avagraha is useful, because you know where there used to be an akara. So then I know it's sarvaha. Oh, sorry, sarve. Sorry, sarve plus api. This is why avagra is useful, because then we can just put a line there, right? A, te plus atra. Anye plus api. Ime plus avastitaha. Me plus achyuta. Any questions for purvarupa-sandhiḥ? Homework is to do all of these even numbers, because we already did all the odd numbers. Should take 5 minutes, not too hard. Okay. So I'm going to switch gears here. I'm sorry for the hard switch here, but we're still staying in ach sandhi. I just want to back up and do a little bit of a review, and we'll also get to look at this a little bit more in the next class, okay? So this chart is really, really helpful for when we review things, right? Because it has all of ach sandhi, all of vowel sandhi. Ach stands for vowel, right? In one chart. So the first one we can look at is dirgha sandhi. Savarna dirgha sandhi. So again, remember that savarna dirgha sandhi was when we had a simple vowel immediately followed by another similar simple vowel. And they become one long vowel. This one right? Veda plus arthaha, vedarthaha. Asti plus iti, astiti. Su plus uktam, suktam. Pitru plus vrinam, pitrunam. Okay, so savarna dirgha, short plus short equals long, long plus long equals long. It doesn't become extra long. Okay. We'll have to see that Maheshwara Sutra in a moment. But the second thing we learned was guna sandhi. Guna sandhi is when I have, backing up a little bit. One thing, what I wanted to show on this chart is we really want to group, we want to look at what's purva first. When I know that a or long a is purva, then dirgha, guna, vriddhi are in play. Okay, so seeing what's purva is really helpful to knowing what our sandhi is. Because when I know it's avarna, a or a, then dirgha can take place, guna or vriddhi. So we're going to look at these three. So when avarna, a or a, is immediately followed by ik, guna is the substitute in place of two sounds. Okay, ik, right? Ik is our simple vowels without akara. I, u, r, l. So when avarna is preceding I, u, r, l, then I'm going to get guna. Sorry, there's a bit of whiplash. I know I'm going back and forth quickly. So, for example, right, this avarna is next to E or E, then I'm going to get the guna letter. Guna is the word for three letters. A, O, and you can type it in the chat. Yeah, so it's actually A, O are the three letters. A, O. Ow is a vriddhi letter. Okay, so the three guna letters are A, O. So when I have or A followed by E or E, they become A. So plus E becomes A. Cha plus iti becomes cheti. Rama plus Ishvara, Rameshvaraha. This is our vriddhi, right? Avarna, and then any of those simple vowels. Second one, a or a, it is preceding u or u. Then it becomes o, right? That kind of makes sense. These kind of feel very similar as well. Cha plus uktaha is choktaha. Cha plus urdvam, chordvam. Yatha uktaha, yathoktaha, etc. So a plus e is a plus u is o. Now there's an additional rule that takes place, and that's when I have r or this lkara, these are all vowels, remember, and those are substituted by un. Really, when it's substituted by akara, that's really what's useful for us. The substitute should be followed by r or la. Okay, what this means is when I'm a preceding r, it becomes, the guna letter is akara, but it needs to be followed by this repa, right? It's the ra, which is a consonant. So the vowel becomes a consonant, really is what happens. Krishna plus riddhihi, Krishna riddhihi. And this, if it's long, it becomes short as well, right? Ganga riddhihi becomes Ganga riddhihi, because it's always short akara plus repa. Tava plus lakaraha, tava lakaraha. This letter you never really see too much. Okay, so we remember guna sandhi. Thumbs up if you feel okay with guna sandhi. Okay, cool. Let's look at vriddhi quickly. When I have a or a, and that's immediately followed by h. H is a, I, o, ow. Then vriddhi is the substitute in place of the two. Vriddhi is these three letters, a, I, and ow. So when I'm avarna plus a, I get I. A feather goes in its cap. This is the vriddhi sandhi. Oops, moving things. A plus o becomes ow. Plus ow is ow. Plus I is I. Okay, so now remember, when I akara, which is purva, I can either have really guna, you know savarna dirgha. I can just forget about savarna dirgha, right? We already know dirgha sandhi. So when akara is preceding avarna rather, a or a, then really what you want to think about is a guna or vriddhi. Is a guna or vriddhi? Is a guna or vriddhi? Guna takes place when I when I have E or O, really, right? That's when you see it common, or R. Vriddhi is when you have a diphthong, A, O, I, ow. Okay, so if it's a simple vowel, then guna. If it's a complex vowel, then it's vriddhi. That's another way of putting it. Okay, now that we talk about complex vowel, let's relax a bit, take a 5-minute break. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So in the next class, we'll review Yan Sandhi and Ayavayava Sandhi and this Purvarupa-Sandhiḥ. Those three kind of go together.